welcome to Stitchless TV. Today we're going to make an asymmetric t-shirt out of these two t-shirts. It's good if they're kind of obviously different. I got this one from H&M and it was £7.99, and look, it's sort of a little bit see-through. And this is a long sleeve kind of silk jumper. It's an old Calvin Klein from a charity shop that's just too small for me. And what we're going to do is we're going to figure out where we're going to align the t-shirts. It's good if one of them it's down the middle and then the other one can be a bit off centre, but it's up to you. Now I'm lining up the hem with the neck and I'm working out so that the neck on the jumper lines up with the neck on that initial t-shirt. Okay, so it's that moment of cutting a designer Calvin Klein silk jumper. There we go. So I'm going to cut straight down. It's not quite in the centre, it's off centre. So this is what we've got so far. I'm lining up the neck of that fitted jumper with the neck on the oversized t-shirt that I got from H&M. So I'm lining that up so I can see where I'm going to cut the t-shirt. So for the t-shirt I'm going to turn it around because I can't get round there. There we go. So I'm going to cut up yet another piece of clothing. So I'm going to cut now the t-shirt. So I'm going straight up where I consider to be roughly the middle, but very important, don't go all the way, okay? Can you see where I've stopped? I've stopped about 1 centimetre away from the ribbing at the top, and I'm just going to fold my jumper out of the way, because then what I'm going to do is, for the front one, I'm going to cut 1 centimetre away from the neckline, and then for the back one, if I can get in there, I'm going to do the same for the back of the neck, and then carry on going straight up. We've got an empty t-shirt, look, invisible t-shirt on that side, no. So what we've got to do is we've got to bring that jumper in line with the hem and in line with the shoulder, and I'm going to slip it in underneath like that. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want to roughly see how I'm going to cut the neck on that jumper to fit the neck of the ribbing. So I'm going to do that now. Now, because both of these are stretchy things, don't worry about it too much. There's quite a lot of play in it. So I'm roughly going around on the front like that, and then I'm going to have a look at the neck, at the back, and I'm just going to, whoops, without cutting the ribbing of the t-shirt, I'm going to cut away the jumper. Right, so the first thing that we need to do is we're going to put our fabric right sides together and we're going to start stitching up that centre front seam. But look, I want you to remember this. When you get to about there, I want you to leave about 1 centimetre at the top, but I'm going to show you in a minute on the machine. So remember, right sides together, get your work ready before you begin. Now, because we're not using pins, because we're pinless here at Stitchless, we need some notches, because that's quite a long way for you to go, isn't it? So I'm going to stick a notch there, so I'll keep that in line, and then I'll probably put, because I want it a bit longer, 1 centimetre longer at the top, so there, stick another notch there. Now when I sew this, because it's potentially a bit tricky, I'm going to use the biggest zigzag on my mini JL, which is an F. Off we go, forwards and backwards. So that's just to close off the seam so it doesn't come undone. And just start making your way up to your first notch. Right, so look, I've reached my first notch and they're lined up, so that's nice and reassuring, and now I can keep going. So I'm holding the next notch, and then I'm just going to make my way towards it. Remember to leave a centimetre extra because we're going to need that for when you reach up to the neck. So look, I don't want it like that. I want it to overhang by about a centimetre. So look, we're coming close to the end, so have a look at this. So that's the jumper one underneath. I'm making sure that it's about 1.5 centimetres, sort of going a little bit beyond the ribbed neck. So I'm going to zigzag and look where I'm stopping. It's quite important. Where am I stopping? Just before the ribbing. And I'm going to go backwards and forwards to close off the seam. So we've just zigzagged those edges together to keep them together and also to seal the edges. And now I'm going to go in with a straight stitch. So we've zigzagged that centre front seam to hold it in place before we sew, but also it acts as a way of finishing off the edge so it doesn't fray. So now I'm going to go in with a straight stitch, just catching the tips of those V's. So I need to turn it to D, remembering to go clockwise, and sew. For the neck, do go as high, for that centre seam, do go as high as you can to the ribbing around the neck without actually going onto it. Right, so that's the front. We do need to press it and then it will be fine. So I've just pressed the front. Now the back is exactly the same. So for the back, I folded it right sides together. On my particular t-shirt, the back is a little bit longer. Now I quite like it like that. If it was only, say, 1/2 inch longer, what you can do is you can steam the jumper or the other t-shirt to sort of stretch and fit, because you can do quite a lot with the steam. But I'm going to keep mine longer like that. So I line it up with the top of the neck. Do you remember it has to be about 1.5 centimetres longer there. And lay it flat. Oops. And then when I'm happy with how I want it to be, I start giving myself some landmark notches. 2's enough really. And then start there, backwards and forwards, and then just continue up the same as you did on the front of the t-shirt. By the way, because I am using stretchy material, I am using a stretch needle. Very often you'll find that when you sew a fabric or you do a project and it all starts knotting up, it isn't you, it isn't your machine, it's because you need to change the needle. So when you sew stretchy fabrics, not always, but often, you need a stretch needle. So I'm now doing the straight stitch after having done the zigzag, but what I want to say is give it a little stretch as you sew. So I pressed my back. Look. Wow. Wow! We're doing that Zadig Voltaire thing, aren't we? That is fantastic. But we've not finished yet, because now we've got to address the neck. But don't be scared, don't be worried, it's really, really easy. Right, now for the neck. The important thing about the neck is you've got to put it right sides together. Okay, can you see? I'm putting it right sides together, but we do need to mitre. First of all, we need to mitre a little bit the jumper, just so we can get in there to that corner. So we need to give it a little mitre. Mitre is just cutting, doing a little cut, diagonal cut to the stitch line. And the reason why we do it is because it then allows us to swing the fabric around so we can get to it and sew. Because otherwise, if I didn't give that a little snip there, I wouldn't be able to lay that flat. So then basically all I'm doing is I'm going to feed it going around until I get to the shoulder, and then I might take a break when I get to the shoulder. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll show you what I've done. So starting at the centre front. Now I was going to do a zigzag, but my neck is really big and I don't need it to stretch a lot. So I'm going to go straight to D, which is a straight stitch on the mini JL. I'm going to see where the shoulder seam on that original t-shirt lines up with the shoulder seam on the top, and stretch it to fit. Now when I've got the amount of stretch that I need to make it fit, I'm just going to sew. So backwards and forwards to begin with, lining everything up, and look where I'm sewing. I'm very close to that bit of ribbing, and I'm holding with my right hand the shoulder seam, so I've got the correct amount of stretch to make it fit. So before I do the back, I've got to do that little snip, the little mitre, which takes me to the end of my stitch seam. Look, see that? So I've got to turn it over, try and get it to be right sides together, but in order for it to happen, I have to do a little snip into the fabric. So look at that. Look at that. That's just brilliant. But we need to trim off all this excess because we still want it to look neat. We're going to trim off all this excess, and then we're going to zigzag it and then give it a good old press. Now look, you would never know that I made that I upcycled that. Look at that. Shall I try it on? Because I actually want to try it on. Thanks so much for watching Stitches TV, and remember, if you make any of my projects, I love to see your photos. Send them to Stitches Tree on Facebook. Bye!